Welcome to Agents of the Brokerage Podcast. I am your host, Todd Back, and today our guest is Josh Lynch. Josh, how you doing today?
Is this where I say your name 3 times?
If you want to.
I don't want to do that.
Okay.
Is that what everyone else did?
It's true. It's true. Ryan started
I'm not
the
doing
trend.
that.
Okay.
I'm not doing that.
Well, Josh, I want to thank you for being on the podcast today. Absolutely. And to kind of get our audience more acquainted with you, just give a quick 60-second about me that you'd like everyone to know.
A quick 60 seconds. I feel like it's long.
Or 30 seconds. You just do your thing.
Let's see. My name is Josh Lynch. I am from Lexington, Kentucky. What else? No, kidding. Married to a wonderful wife, Lauren, who grants me plenty of grace in this profession of real estate. We have 2 great kids, Ryan and Woodson. Ryan will be 6 this year, and Woodson is getting ready to turn 8 months. The guy took off crawling on us about a month ago.
Game changer.
Game changer. So my lazy Sunday afternoons are no more because he's already into everything. I got into teaching actually before real estate. So I was an elementary school teacher for almost 9 years, working mostly with 4th and 5th grade special ed students, which was awesome. And added my real estate license, and then was doing real estate remodeling and teaching, and then got into administration and did a little bit of assistant principal role. And then I thought one of these have kind of got to give a little bit. And so I started a new venture.
Nice.
And, that's kind of what landed me where I'm at now. But went to UK, graduated from UK, went to Georgetown for a special ed master's, and then went to Eastern for the administration program. But yeah, lifelong Lexingtonian, like the salad.
And most importantly, we have 2 products of Tates Creek High School here.
That's the thing
on the podcast at the same time.
This might be a one-timer. No one else in the office can do this.
No, this is us.
This
is us.
It's a pretty special moment.
It is.
I almost brought our jackets so we could wear them in here. Although I didn't have a jacket. I just had a pullover from the gift shop. Do you remember the gift shop they had?
Oh yes.
We used to go get stuff.
Oh yes.
During 10-minute break.
10-minute break. That's right.
What if they still have that?
Memories. I don't know.
Yeah. I was thinking of content when I was trying to think what we were going to talk about on this.
Yes.
And one thing that immediately came to my mind is, how much do you miss the chicken patty cheese fry line?
Oh man, I haven't thought about that in a while. And that was something special.
How special was that? I mean, one dedicated line every day of the week, and all you could get in that line was a chicken patty. Fries with cheese sauce.
I think the cheese sauce, if they did rankings for cheese sauce, Tates Creek was probably in the top 5.
Between how good the cheese sauce,
I know I had it every day,
and how runny the ranch was.
Oh my!
They had to put 2 gallons of water. They just cut it. Terrible cheapskates.
And then, do you remember when the dedicated pizza line came in? They thought they were big stuff.
I could afford the pizza line.
I remember my buddy Stephen Hasselbring. He would only get the pizza line.
Well,
it's like Steve,
as you know, Will Cornett was the same way.
Oh, Will,
yeah,
unbelievable.
I had to have the pizza.
Unbelievable.
One day I found out where that pizza came from.
Hopefully it was Papa John's.
It was Papa John's.
Okay. I was a day old.
It was more than a day old.
No.
One time they asked us to help the lunch ladies when we were in health class.
Oh, gosh.
To unload something.
No.
And we walk into the walk-in deep freezer.
No.
And there's probably 300 boxes of Papa John pizza.
Oh, no.
Frozen like astronaut food.
No.
Yeah. So,
wow.
You're welcome.
Well, that's probably why there were certain days it was a little more crispy. Like the cheese was blackened a little bit.
Yeah.
And then there were other days that it was like, this is fresh.
Yeah. No.
But that's okay.
This definitely was a reserve.
This is good. We'll have to get into the Tates Creek lunch line.
That's why I told you content. I was thinking of how we're going to fill this time.
Well,
chicken patty cheese fries.
Well, on the day that always got me excited, I don't know about you, but there was chicken nugget day, and you could get double nuggets, which was like, this is insane for $1 more. Like, you kidding me? And then, of course, school pizza day.
Yeah.
When it was school pizza day, it was kind of like, leave me alone. I'm going in to get my pepperoni school pizza.
Yeah.
And give me 2.
Did you ever go to Miss Janet's line? That was the only line I went to.
Yes. Miss Janet was a little bit of a legend. Yes.
Yeah, she would,
on game day, she maybe the handful of fries was a little
bit
more
thicker.
heavy. Yeah. And I always appreciated that.
I wrote, do you remember when we had to write like on-demand writing or whatever in like 11th or 12th grade? I wrote my letter to Miss Janet for my on-demand writing.
Wow.
Thanking her for being an awesome lunch lady.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So,
You know what was funny? And when you were in your teaching days, I always thought, because this was before, nutrition was really a thing. No one really knew. No one at Tates Creek in 2001 was talking about the macros of our lunch.
right.
And I just always remember, like, when we would have the CATS testing or whatever, and like the morning of, they would give everybody like this massive honey bun and like a lemonade, and I'm like, that was probably 100 grams sugar
no
that
doubt.
you're just
Two kids just fall out, diabetic comas, just roll out. Oh well, John's down.
John's down.
Insulin shot didn't work.
Like,
shouldn't have gave him the honey bun.
Take him off the list.
Yeah.
All right, man. I love it. We'll get into that.
We'll get back to that.
But okay, so back to the real estate side,
Yep.
right? You had all those. You had a lot of paths that you were going down, right? And you, from what I saw, you were excelling at them. You were enjoying them. So, why did you get into real estate? And then also, kind of part two, why did you make that decision that this is what I want to do full time?
Yeah, actually, I've always loved real estate from probably a young age. Honestly, in high school, I would travel to North Carolina with my aunt. She's a carpenter and worked for this really cool remodeling company down in Chapel Hill. And so I would spend the summers working, packing lumber and cleaning up and just being kind of a grunt, but meeting some really talented carpenters and getting to work on some really, really cool projects that they worked on. They were kind of had this niche with professors and this kind of client pool down on the campuses. And so I think that's probably what sparked my interest into, hey, you can take an old house and make it look really cool by doing, some things to it. So even I remember in high school, I did co-op, and one of those things you had to do is you had to have a job to do co-op. And so I applied to work for a real estate company, and it didn't work out at that point in time. And I remember getting out of high school, like while I was still in college, going to meet with another real estate company. And I'm very thankful for that lady that I met with, because she was really honest with me. So at 19, she said, do you have somebody that's going to pay your bills for 2 years, cover all your insurances, give you gas money and all that, because you might not sell a house for 2 years? And I looked at her like, no, I don't really have anybody like that. And she said, well, I don't know if this is for you, And I said, well, hey, I appreciate the honesty. And I went from that and continued to go to school. And I had this hope and passion to actually get into forensic science. And so I did that. That was my first adventure through college, and transferred to Eastern. And the way they weed the CSI wannabes out is they make you take physics and chemistry.
That's not right.
In the same semester.
Oh, not right.
Yeah. And so they literally meet with you and say, okay, here's your 2 classes you have to take, and then you need to fill with 3 more classes. And so I was like, okay, I can do this. No problem. No. And so I went from like loving chemistry and all that to just barely passing, and thought maybe this isn't for me. So landed back at UK, and it's amazing how God weaves you in and out of different situations. But my undergraduate was in high school social studies, and lo and behold, I ended up teaching elementary special ed. So it's kind of crazy how the paths get rolling. But always loved teaching, and actually had a really, really hard time stepping away. And I still do. It still weighs on me sometimes of, did I make the best choice, the right choice to move away from teaching into real estate? But I kind of look at real estate as teaching, and I love the opportunity to work with first-time buyers or investors that are venturing out into real estate for the first time, because it kind of ignites me back into that teaching mode. So I look at it as I haven't stepped away from teaching. I'm still teaching it, just in a different avenue. So that's one of the main reasons why I love real estate. Because we see stuff on TV, or you talk to someone that bought a house, and some people believe they'll never be able to buy a house, or that it's going to be too hard, so they have to wait 3, 4, 5 years. And it's fun to sit down with folks and say, hey, you can probably achieve that dream a lot quicker than you thought.
Love it, man.
Yep.
That is such a big part of what we do. And I'd say the other thing that kind of piggies back on that is that there's so much misinformation out there regarding about the home buying process and getting a mortgage and just all that. There's just so much stuff that just is not right. I mean, it's just not. And so
people get trapped in their, family advice, or if you come from a family, my family is a great family. Like I am so blessed to, be brought up with the family that I have, and so fortunate. But, there was probably misconceptions with that. My grandmother built a house in 1965, I think, over off Armstrong Mill. And I remember when I was helping her pack to move to her, we've got her into a kind of one level living. So when we sold that house, I was helping her pack up, and I found the original bill of sale for that house.
Wow.
How much do you think that house cost back in the mid 60s?
I mean, there's no telling. I don't know.
$13,000.
$13,000.
She built that house on Armstrong Mill for $13,000. She paid more for her 96 Honda Accord than she paid for that house.
Wow.
Which is just mind blowing. You know what I mean? But that was it. Like, she was there for 50 something years. You know what I mean? And that's kind of how her motive mentality was. And that's kind of how she raised all of us, that, this is it. You work really hard and then you get this, and you don't move past it, and you pay it off, and you never leave it. That was kind of her mode until we thought that it'd be better for her to have a little bit easier living conditions. So, but back to that's a lot of people fall into advice that's maybe not, the most sound.
And, and that's something that I think about this stuff all the time. I talk to you about it, several people here at the office, and that's even our own, like where I've been in it 13 years. Mm-hmm. My parents have been in it 30 years, and I'm always around it. And you always look at it and you're just like, oh my gosh, interest rates will never be this low again,
right,
or the prices will, like, there's no way they can keep going higher. And this was like, I probably have the same conversation with myself and others, like every few years. And you just look at the market and you look at all these things, and it's like, it's telling us a story.
Right.
And so just because like rates are, at a certain point now, or prices are a certain point now, like look at the trend line of what has happened, and just look at the big picture trend. And it's always over the long term, like a better than it was. Right. Like they're not going back down, as far as what the history shows us.
Right.
And I always think that's so interesting about real estate, is as much as we want to try and dissect it and try and get ahead of things, it's like, man, you just look at the long-term big picture, and it's a great place to be, for your financial peace and security. And I just think it's always interesting, because I remember when I got our first house, it was like the interest rate was 6.5%, and that was supposed to be the norm. And it was, everybody's like, oh, it's the best rate you can get, 6.5. And then they went down to, when things were bad, that was down to 3.25, 3.5. And now I just got an update the other day from a loan officer that they're back at 4%. And it's like, if you were going to ask somebody 5 years ago, would rates ever be at 4% again? They'd say, absolutely not. There's no way.
No way possible, right?
So,
I know.
Anyway, we get tangent. But it's just
back
always
to chicken patties.
Yeah, back to chicken patties. So, all right. So how long have you been officially full-time in real estate now?
Full-time, I got my license in the summer of 15. So almost 4 years, be 4 years this summer.
Nice. Yeah. Nice. That's awesome, man. And so you mentioned the teaching aspect. Is that favorite aspect of real estate? Is that it, or is there something else or something more?
Yeah, I would say that, coupled with helping people achieve like this goal that A, they may think they were never going to achieve, or B, they've been working on their own for a little while, and then finally reached out to somebody that could help them get all the way there. Some of my favorite conversations are with first-time home buyers, and just being able to sit down and say, hey, here's A, B, C, let's get through those, and then we'll get to the rest of it. And, teacher mode kind of kicks in, and then you get to that final day where they're signing the paper and handing over the keys. It's pretty cool.
And like when you do work with first-time home buyers, right, or even if it's people that thought, I'm never going to be able to get a house, like, can you see like a shift in their either mentality or their just, I don't know, because I just think when you purchase a home, like something changes, right? And I can't it's different for different people, but there's something, and I just want like your thoughts on that.
Yeah, you definitely feel that. You feel that for them, that that sense of pride, of accomplishment, and those are the feelings that I always enjoyed with teaching too. Teaching kids how to read or do certain tasks, especially working with the special needs population. Some of our goals may seem meaningless to most, but they may be life changing for that student. And I try to, especially like I think back, one of my buddies just bought a house about 8 or 9 months ago. Single dad of 2, and probably never thought he was going to buy a house. If you would have asked him 2 years ago, "You're going to own a home?" his answer probably would have been no. But then we started talking. He started realizing, hey, this is a possibility. And the next thing you know, he's owning a home, and now he's kind of changed his family tree. Now he gets to be an example for those 2 boys of, hey, this is what dad did. This is what you can do. This is what I expect of you. And it all came from hard work and dedication and giving up and sacrificing and working overtime. And, those are the moments where you're like, wow, you're going to see that's going to be a huge ripple effect for generations, hopefully.
That's awesome.
So,
I love it, man. So that's all right. Favorite aspect. Now, Mr. Lynch, let's get into what's your least favorite aspect of being in this real estate world?
In real estate. I would say that the 2 things that probably get left off the excitement radar of real estate are home inspections, negotiating repairs, and I'd throw appraisals in there a little bit. Those are 2 things that when people see a home, they love a home, they want the home. Those are 2 things that evade their mind very quickly. And also for sellers, working with sellers that get excited, especially about this hot market, and think, oh, this is going to be, this is going to be as easy as pie. And then you get to those 2 ventures, and it's like, oh, hold on, this isn't on TV. They don't talk about this on Property Brothers. What is going on here? So those are probably the 2. I mean, home inspection. So like, I always try to set the expectations, and I feel like here at the brokerage we harp on that and push each other to grow in that level of like, let's help our folks expect the best, and help them get there. So I try to, but as much, and as much as you try to prep them and prepare them, it's, for some reason, the home inspection process turns into this like white knuckle, I'm winning, you're losing, I want what I want, and you're not going to get what you want. It's like, come on, everybody wants the same thing,
And again, and I think I just had an idea what we need to do with that, because I think we need to create like a video series for home inspections.
Yeah, that'd be
and
great.
We just send it to our clients, buyer or seller, where
your welcome market. We just changed.
You just lay out everything, because it is.
No, it really is.
And the thing is too, is like the buyer seller, like selling a home or buying a home. I mean, it's one of the most stressful times in people's lives.
Sure.
And even if I tell you, like, hey, Josh, like, here's what's going to happen during the home inspection. It's a 2-minute conversation, right? And you're just like, yeah, got it.
Easy.
And you get that home inspection.
Nothing's wrong with my house. We keep it up.
You get that list, right? And you're just like, Todd, there's 30 things the home inspector put on the list. And I'm like, I know. And we talked about it, remember? And let's go through this list to see what's important and what's not. But I totally agree, man. Like that, the home inspection process can be one of those where you just like,
well, like one of my first conversations I always have with clients is buying or selling a home is no different. I mean, when you break it down, it is no different than buying or selling a stock, right? I mean, that's all it is. Our game is, let's take pot of A money, put it towards something, and hopefully pot B will be bigger when we're done. The bad thing about real estate is emotion gets involved and gets intertwined into it all. And so people oftentimes let that emotion rule, the entire situation. So like, people wouldn't argue over selling their Apple stock. They would just sell it and move on and invest it into something else. So I try to always have that conversation, whether it's a buyer or seller, and say, hey, remember, at the end of this, we're either trying to get the best buy that we can so you're worth more later, or, hey, we're cashing out right now because you're getting a pretty good return. So let's cut the emotion out of it. And that's what happens with the home inspection side that drives me nuts, because as a real estate professional, we are trying to keep the peace a lot of the times and say, hey, let's get back online. Let's get back to putting our head on straight, and that's not always easy.
No, agree. We'll leave it right there.
Yep.
Totally agree. So you mentioned your two kids, right? Your wife. That in itself is enough to keep someone 100% busy.
Right.
And then you layer in real estate. In the 4 years that you've been in it, have probably been 4 of the most, 4 of the best years on records.
Right, yeah.
So again, being super busy, and I'm sure we'll get into, your about the South District group here in a second. And so what keeps you in this? Because like I said, you could go back and teach tomorrow. Mm-hmm. Like they would hire you like no problem. Yeah. And so what keeps you in this when it's crazy? And we've talked about it. I mean, it's just kind of wild. So what keeps you in this business, Josh?
I think it's kind of like similar to golf or something that you like on the extracurricular, where you practice it and then you get a little bit better. And then the next time you go, it's a little bit easier. And then you do it really bad one time, so you're like, oh, I got to go back to practicing it. Like, I feel like real estate is like that. Like, we live on this constant up, down, high, low. Like, my wife, she always laughs. Like, I don't know whether to smile when you get the phone call or to stay calm and keep a straight face. Is it good? Is it bad? You were happy when you left. You came back aggravated. You know what I mean? So, like I said, she grants me enough grace to fill up 4 of these cups. Because it's not always easy, right? Like we go back to that emotional side. You got to be level-headed during some very stressful emotional situations, and a lot of times, unfortunately, that gets kind of released at home, whether you're frustrated or happy or whatever, and your spouse or significant other has to be your equalizer. Yeah. But as far as keeping me in it, I think the flexibility of schedule is one, amazing thing. Being able to be there with the kids in the morning, or go to lunch with my wife when she has some availability to do that is amazing. Being able to go to, course events or little parties at school, those things are always a blessing to get to be involved in. And, I grew up with my grandmother, and my mother was killed when I was little, and I didn't know my dad until I got a little bit older. So, my dynamic of growing up was a little different than most. And I strive really hard to kind of give my kids the things that I always wished I had, Mm-hmm. And so being in the real estate game allows me to do that a little bit easier. And I think that on the second part of doing that is it's always that going back to the next person, like, who can I help again? Who's, it's the excitement level of a little bit of competition, a little bit of teaching, a little bit of winning, and then goal achievement. It's addictive.
Love it, man.
Yeah.
That will do it.
Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah.
And I tell you, you mentioned that, like the golf analogy, right? Mm-hmm. And I just think that because I think going into the future of the real estate world, right, where we know all this technology is coming in, there's a lot of people trying to come in. I mean, it's a $1 trillion industry. So, mm-hmm. Of course, there's a lot of people trying to come in and get their piece of the pie.
Right.
But I just think so much of where this thing is going is that it's all going to depend on you, the realtor, being a professional and being like at the top of your game, right. And it's no different than in athletics, where you have the very best. Like, those are typically the people that are working their ass off the most, right? It's like you always hear about Jordan and Kobe and LeBron. I mean, these people are relentless, mm-hmm. Even though they're already at the best of their field.
Yep.
And I think it's no different in real estate, man. And that's what we're doing here is bringing the best people that we can, and where we all can share our ideas and just strengthen all of us, to where the answers to the test, right? Like, you know it. And just how much more confident are you walking into an appointment when you've seen a situation before, or you've heard a situation before, or you know exactly how to handle it. And I mean, once you get to that level, it's like, man, things really start opening up, because you can advise your clients just that much better, because you know what's going on, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Man, all right. So 4 years ago, we have day one Josh in the real estate world. Mm-hmm. You've had some some background kind of with, you're saying with your aunt and the real estate spectrum, right? But I'm sure you've learned a lot in your 4 years.
Sure.
So if you could go back, day one, Josh Lynch, what's the advice you would give that young man starting off in this world?
Yeah, I think actually it goes even farther past from like 4 years. So I bought my first house when I was 23.
Ooh.
So almost 14 years ago. And somehow, some way, I found out about this thing called FayettePVA.com.
Oh boy.
And they were telling me like, hey, did you know you can look up any address and it will tell you what someone paid for their house? And I was like, what? That should be private, top secret information. And so I looked it up. Reason being is I grew up with my grandmother, like I've said, and the house kind of behind her backyard, my aunt and uncle lived in for about 10, 12 years. They rented it from some folks. But I spent probably 50% of my time there and 50% of my grandmother's. Like I was really, really close with my uncle there. He was my mom's brother, and my cousins there are more like brothers. We just call each other brothers. And so I spent a lot of time there. Well, some unfortunate circumstances happened through that family, and that house was just sitting empty for like 2 years. And then I hear about this Fayette PVA. So I was like, oh, I'm going to look it up and see who owns it. Cause I didn't know, I remember it selling from the people that owned it at the time. And I found it, and they had a Versailles address. And so I wrote them a handwritten letter explaining kind of what that house was to me and all that stuff. And would they ever be interested in selling it to give me a call? Because at that point, I was tired of paying rent. I couldn't even afford rent. I think I was using like student loan money to pay rent.
Oh, Josh.
Had no reason to be living on my own. And so I wrote this letter, and then probably 4 or 5 days later, I get this phone call, and she says, hey, I got your letter. And funny enough, we are wanting to sell that house.
Wow.
Like it's been more of a headache than we thought it would be. And so I was like, oh, here we go. Let's go. And so I met them there. We walked through it. They had watched apparently a lot of DIY videos or saw some movies or something. So they did a lot of work to the house that didn't get finished. So when I walked in, it didn't have a bathroom. The whole bathroom had been torn out. The kitchen was so at best, and a lot of unfinished situations in the house. And I thought, oh, this is perfect.
Yeah.
Like I immediately looked and saw potential and being able to use some of the stuff that I learned working with my aunt stuff. So I immediately called my aunt, and I was like, hey, I got this situation. Would you be willing to give me a hand on some of it? And of course, being the awesome person that she is, she was like, absolutely. So I worked out a deal. Like it was so like, when I look back at this, I think,
when was this?
This was when I was 23. So like 14 years ago.
Wow.
And so I look back and so I call her, and she's like, yeah, let's do it. You're good. Well, to get it all to work, I had to do FHA financing. And of course, none of it would pass FHA.
Yeah.
And so I worked out a deal with them. So this is like the early realtor in me.
Okay.
I worked out a deal with them where I was going to rent the house for 2 months. So over the summer, I was going to rent it for like maybe May and June or something.
From the current owners.
From the current owners for $1 per month. And in exchange, I would pay for all of the repairs myself and do them myself. So like I look back and think, I don't know how smart that was.
Yeah. Wow. Josh.
So my aunt and I, we get all stuff. We fix the bathroom nice. Because my fear was, hey, they're going to do it, and then they're going to charge me for it, and then it's not going to like be to what I wanted, and then I have to tear it out anyway, or whatever. So this seemed to be the best choice. So anyway, negotiated that deal. We made the repairs. It passes FHA, and I buy the house. All on $2 worth of rent. And
you were doing the burr before burr was a thing.
Yeah.
Gosh, nice.
Yeah. And so that's when I think back, that's where it's really all started. That's kind of where that passion really got going
that's cool.
But it was always a fear, right? So it was like, that was a success, but I always let fear kind of creep in and keep me from exploring it even further. Like I always wanted to get into flipping houses, or I wanted to get my license while I was teaching. And it was always kind of that fear of the unknown that kept me into teaching and kept me away from it. And so, flash forward to 4 years ago, Mike, my partner, Michael Martin, and I had flipped a house. And during that, he said, hey, you should just get your license and get away from teaching, and we'll do this, full time. We'll start flipping. We'll do this. We'll do that. And again, all those emotions of like, yeah, let's do this. They fired back up, right? We did a really cool job on this awesome house over in Waterford, sold it and, made a little money on it. And I thought, yeah, let's do it. But then like I let that fear creep back in, and probably 2 more years passed. And I, was finally like, hey, I'm going to get my license. And so that was, 4 years ago, finished all the classes and got my license, and then stayed teaching one more go round while I was doing remodeling and real estate and teaching. And then finally it was like, all right, now I'm brave enough to give it a shot.
Nice.
Yeah.
How did you and Mike connect and then create South District Group? Like, what's the story?
Yeah.
Because I don't know this. So I'm just going to sit back and listen.
Yeah, we had a lot of mutual friends. You probably can't tell by this physique right now, but there was a moment in time where we were going to Lift Fitness probably 4 or 5 days a week. Like,
shout out Fitness.
Wes, what up, boy? Shout out.
I'll be back one day, Wes.
Yeah,
Trust me.
I'm going to get this dad bod back together.
We both have newborns. We gotta cut somewhere.
Yeah, help me out, Wes. Send me a regiment. Get me going. But no, so we had a bunch of mutual friends and end up at Lyft back when the classes were always hopping on like Tuesday, Thursday night, and someone said, "Hey, there's a better tall white dancer than you." And I was like, that's impossible because I hold the title of tall white dancers. And they said, I don't know, there's this guy named Mike Martin who always goes to Lyft. Have you met him? And I was like, I've been to Lyft quite a bit. I don't know if I've met him or not. Well, we wind up at a friend's birthday party at Cheapside. We were sitting there and we were chatting, whatever. And then Mike came up to him, introduced himself, and I said, oh, I heard, that you are supposedly this great white dancer. And just looking at you, immediate judgment told me otherwise. And so the conversation had it. We we're cutting up, and as some people know, Mike has a daughter with special needs, and so we got onto that when he found out I was a teacher, and we kind of connected on that. And shout out to Abby girl, we love you. She's graduating middle school today.
I heard that.
So we were supposed to have the duo in here, but
maybe next time.
Thank
goodness.
Yeah. I don't know if you would have been able to handle both of us.
Probably not. Be a Coach Cal interview.
Yeah.
Like, how y'all doing?
Yeah, it'd have been hot. It'd have been a hot one. So we'll come in. We'll come in easy on this one, but no.
Thank you.
So we, lo and behold, we thumb wrestled at this birthday party because he has very, very tiny hands, and he gets made fun of a lot for that. And so, of course, I dominated him at that, and that led us to this conversation of should we have a dance off?
Oh my!
And settle this: who's the best tall white dancer? And the hype builds. The hype builds around Lyft.
Whoa.
Only to turn into a full-blown dance-off in the middle of the blue lot during a UK Western Kentucky football game.
Oh, my.
A couple hundred people in a circle in the blue lot, music going. Unfortunately, he had already rigged the voting system.
Of course he did.
No one knew me. Everybody at the tailgate knew him. And if he won't sit at this microphone and confess the truth, then he's a bold-faced liar. And I said that on record. So we had a good time with that, and then the friendship just it really exploded from that. We ended up finding we had so much in common just in growing up and family dynamics and all that stuff. And it's just amazing, really, how kind of God puts you on collision courses with people. And I really truly believe that. So that led us into that. Flipping that house because he kind of had the connection with the house, and he knew that I had the connection with remodeling and stuff. To go back, how he knew I had the connection with remodeling and stuff is after the thumb wrestling incident, and we got to know each other a little bit more through Lyft. He actually hired me to hang pictures at his house.
Thanks, Mike.
Mike owns one screwdriver. And his poor wife had all these photos laying around their new house that he could not hang. So shout out to that $25, Farrah, for
Wow.
letting me hang all those pictures and give Mike some teaching opportunity.
That's good. That's good.
So after that, I did a few other things around their house, and so he knew that I knew how to use a drill, and he didn't, and that's what led us to flip that house.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And then since then, we stayed good friends from that, and he always, was like, you need to get your license, and I was always too nervous to risk it, and finally kind of had enough of the teaching world and was looking for a little bit different avenue, and here we are.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
I can't believe that it all started at Lift Fitness and Wellness.
Mm-hmm.
That
Shout out on High Street.
We need to get a brokerage account at Lyft, and we need to get back in there.
Yeah, I agree.
Wes is the best. I went there for about a year. Loved it.
Before we had kids, honestly, we were there 4 to 5 days a week. On Saturdays, we did the double down.
You did the double.
We boxed and then did the,
oh my gosh,
where he tried to kill you on Saturday.
One of those people.
Yep. And
wow.
So there was a moment in time where,
man,
I didn't look as puffy.
This is serious. Well, we need to get back in there. I love it, and it's awesome. And Wes is he's a great dude. I want to get him on the podcast one of these days. He won't be an agent of the brokerage, but I just his story is really cool. Yeah. So I want.
Absolutely.
Anyway, okay.
Yeah.
Wow, a lot to unpack there.
Yeah.
Goodness.
Hey, bring those classes back, man. Once everybody's kids grew up a little bit, see, that's the problem. Everybody started having kids, and their schedules got crazy, and the classes faded. But those classes used to be hype.
They were
hype.
So, all right, we memorable moments in real estate.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I know you've had a few.
Mm-hmm.
Share with us maybe the most memorable, the one that comes to mind, or it's always going to be with you.
Yeah,
good, bad, and different. What is it?
There's going to be two. The first one goes back to that whole first time home buyer. Never thought it would happen. I met a lady, just actually through kind of like a referral through online. So not even really much of a personal connection, but again, I always give it up to that we were put on this collision course to kind of help one another out. Met her, really hit it off. Formed a good relationship and kind of explained, hey, here's some things you need to do. So we got her connected with a lender who really helped her kind of get her affairs in order. And he called and he was like, hey, Josh, I don't know. It's kind of up in the air whether she'll do what I've recommended her to do or not. And so you just never know. Do people have that determination in them to get it done?
Yep.
And sometimes they come back around 6 months, a year. Well, the next thing I know, I get a phone call like a month and a half later, and she's like, okay, I did everything that he told me to do. And my credit score went up like 50 points. And so I'm ready. I'm like, hey, here we go.
Nice.
So
yeah.
She got after it and got it done. And we bought her first house. She'd been through a, not so nice family situation in the past. And it kind of left her, a wreck and battered a little bit. And then next thing you know, she's standing up on her own 2 feet. And,
that's awesome.
And so that was awesome. That was awesome. And then one of probably the most special moments, and I wish Mike was here to share it because he was kind of the catalyst and sparking the fire. But, my heart will always be in with kids and especially the special need population and stuff. And we had the opportunity this year to help a family, the Pickard family, sell their home and then buy a new house that they could all have bedrooms on the same level. They had never lived in a house where they could have their bedrooms, and being so that their son is now mostly uses a wheelchair to get around. And so we, in this market where they needed to be, and their price range is just nearly impossible to find. And we had been looking for a while, but we were able to find them a house, meet with that agent that was selling the house and kind of explain the situation of what we were going to do. And in doing so, met with the home inspector, the termite people, the lender, you guys, as the brokerage as a business, and said, hey, you know what, we're going to give everything back to this family that they're going to invest, and we're going to surprise them at the closing table. And so Zach and Tina and Brandon were in there, and we had the opportunity to stand up and say, hey, here's your money back for your home inspection. Here's your money back as a lender credit. Here's your money back in commission. And we were actually able to give them about $7,000 back towards their situation. And by no means for any sort of publicity or nothing like that. And we tried to make sure everybody knew, hey, this is about giving Zach some amazing opportunities with his family, because he had never had his own bedroom. Because the house they were in before, there was a master downstairs, but all the other bedrooms were upstairs. So he just hung out downstairs. So we were able to buy him some of his own bedroom furniture and get his whole room set up so that when he got to walk in, he was like blown away. So that one will never leave. So shout out to Big Zach Attack. He is the man for sure.
That is, man. And I'm like, I'm getting chills right now. I mean, because that was just such awesome. A cool thing. And then when you see it, like there's just sometimes in just life in general, when you see certain things, like it stops. Yeah. Like everything stops. You put aside like a lot of, just petty stuff. You're just like, man, that's amazing. Yeah. And that matters. And that's going to make a huge difference in their, to that family. Yeah, and exactly. It's something y'all made happen. Yeah. And
the awesome thing about that family is his parents, never take anything. That every dollar they raise, everything they do is always to benefit the Progeria Foundation and research and really trying to help all the kids that are affected by progeria. So they never do anything for themselves. And so that's when Mike and I were like, we had this idea of we're going to help someone buy a house at some point in time. And then all of a sudden, again, like there's no doubt in my mind that there was this, divine collision that came about to say, hey, wow, they actually are interested in selling. Boom, here we go. Let's make this happen. And so it was probably 3 or 4 months in the making, and they had zero clue until it was really funny that Mike started the closing, and then we all kind of snuck in the back door, and they're looking around like, is this normal that all these people
like there's 20
why is
people.
There a videographer in here filming? Like we tricked them. We told them we were shooting like this promo commercial thing or whatever. So, but what an amazing moment.
It was, man,
to do that. That was so cool.
It was. That was so awesome of you guys to do that. Yeah. Like it was very cool. Yeah. I loved it. It's hard to follow that.
Yeah. That's a good one.
So this is one of my favorite questions, and it's always the favorites. So Josh Lynch favorites, family favorites. Like, what are some of your favorite places around Central Kentucky that you frequent often?
Yeah. Any
places you want to give a shout out to?
A lot of, again, going back to this physique, a lot of it surrounds food. So some of our favorite things to do are just get out to some of the restaurants. But before we get to that, we'll probably, one of the things that we like to do as a family is just get out of the house. Yeah. I mean, honestly, we were very fortunate enough to live in a cool neighborhood that's over near Veterans Park. So we are frequently out walking, out riding bikes, head to the park, go on the trails. Ryan, my daughter, really loves to kind of explore and let her imagination run when we get out there. And so we look forward to that. I would say we're probably out walking the neighborhood or going to the park at least 3 to 4 days a week. Just getting out of the house.
Which park is Veterans Park? Yeah. That's cool. Yeah. And can anybody go up there and park
absolutely.
At the baseball field or somewhere?
Yeah. We live on the backside, so it's kind of cool. We can head out of our street and head down the hill and come into the backside of the park, and there's trails. Yeah. There's a paved walking trail or bike trail, and then there's tons of off the beaten path trail you can get in and have a good time. So we go on bear hunts, and we're all, letting our imagination run and having a good time. So that's probably one of our favorite things to do.
That's awesome.
As a family. I'd say the next thing is we enjoy trying to get out and do a little hiking at the Gorge or at Ravens Run when we can. Really, trying to push Ryan to kind of be that explorer and not just sit around an iPad or anything. So those are some things we look forward to trying to get done. Not always easy, especially with a newborn. Yeah. Although we did take him to Raven Run not too long ago.
Did you?
Yeah.
How'd that go?
It was really good. It was good. My wife wore one of those kangaroo pouch carrier things, and we survived it. So
wow,
it was a good time.
That's
it was a really good time.
I've never been to a Ravens Run.
Yeah.
I've never been there.
Yeah.
Is that pretty? What's it like?
It's a great introductory hiking. They probably have, I don't know, 4 or 5 trails that go out, and it'll take you out to the overlook and some couple, moderately break a sweat. You'll be breathing hard, wanting a beer when you get to the top. But
do you think this is something that naturally happens as you get older, or maybe when you get into parenthood? Because I've never ever wanted to go on a hike or do anything like that, and Lauren took me to the gorge last fall, and it was incredible. And I couldn't believe, I'm 36 years old at that time, and I'm like, I can't believe that, like, that's been here my entire life, and this is the first time that I saw it, and I can't wait to go back. And now, as soon as Sam gets a little older, like, we're gonna go do that. But
I think it just comes. Yeah, I think you're right. I think it just comes with getting a little bit older and realizing some of the things that matter the most, and some of the things that mean nothing. And I like to go because it literally, your phones usually don't work, and you can just kind of just be out there. And I feel this connection with just kind of nothingness. You know what I mean? Walking around, we have a good time, and it's a good time for Lauren and I to just kind of, when we go without the kids, just to chat and talk and just get away from work life and parent life, and just, it's a good time.
And there is something just to seeing nature like that. And you're just like, wow, like this is, and it's just right here, man. It's in our backyard. It's crazy.
Yeah. Hour drive. I mean, shoot, it's only like 20-minute drive to go to the Raven Run spot. So it's, definitely take advantage of those if you haven't. I'd say the back to the more important part,
restaurant,
where do
baby.
we eat?
Yeah, give me that.
Man, there's so many good ones. What
what's
a
current
turn
favorite?
event here in Lexington to have all these like really solid restaurants.
I mean, in our day, it was just Cheddars.
Hey,
Cheddars or bust.
Cheddars, or you caravan down to McDonald's. That's all we had. That was it. I didn't even know anything existed past New Circle.
Nope.
Can you imagine having Drake's when we were in high school? Like,
oh my gosh,
golly, that'd have been amazing.
I'm like, get these high school kids out of here.
These punks
Seriously.
out here. All they're doing is eating the bread and drinking water.
Eating bread, drinking water, and they're splitting the French fry. Like, this is ridiculous.
Let's see. One place I love to sneak down to in the morning for a little breakfast brunch action is Stella's on Jefferson. It kind of has this really fun. It reminds me of New Orleans, which is one of my favorite cities, and it kind of has that feel when you go in, just an old school diner feel. But the breakfast burrito is so
Stella's.
good.
I'm adding that to my list.
Put it on the list.
Okay.
Stella's on Jefferson. Is amazing. We love to sneak out to Windy Corner. Out going out Bryan Station Road, kind of out to the horse country, and get a couple sandwiches out there. She has absolutely, hit gold with all her restaurants, and whether it's Zim's or Windy Corner. We went out to Wallace Station last Friday.
I was going to ask you about that. Yeah, I saw.
We went out there. So I try to hit one of her establishments maybe once a month, just because it's always so good.
And we're talking about the unbelievable Weta Michael.
Yeah, the one and only.
Just everything she touches.
I know.
Gold.
I know. Well, that was another reason why I liked Windy Corner, because, a lot of that theme is New Orleans based.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. Have you been to New Orleans?
No.
Gosh.
We
almost moved there.
Really?
Yeah. Lauren's mom is from there.
No way.
And so we frequent it as much as we can. And I love that city.
And if this goes down as one of my biggest regrets in life, I'm doing all right. But I always regret not going to that Final Four that was down there.
Yeah, no. Can you imagine?
Why?
Man, I don't know.
Why didn't I do that? I drove to Arlington, Texas, but I wouldn't go down to New Orleans to see us play Louisville. Unbelievable.
Yeah, no.
What a mistake.
It was, I would have been there had I not been in Vegas that weekend, which was pretty epic. We'll save that for another podcast.
Yeah. All right. Any other hot spots you want to recommend?
Let's see. Where else do we like to go? Man, put me on the spot.
No, that's good. Stella's is great. That's a great. I'm sure a lot of people have not. I mean, I don't even know.
Stella's is so good. And I always tease my wife. My wife is the one that broke me out of kind of the chain restaurant go-to. I'm a real habit person. So like I have no problem eating Cheddar's every time I go out to eat.
Yes.
Just and get the same thing.
I don't know about this scratch kitchen though. It's always the casual cafe.
The casual cafe.
Come on.
I know with the cool fish tank.
They keep raising their prices on the world class chicken. Remember back in our day, it used to be $5.99.
Oh man, you could go eat there for $6. $5.99. No problem. Yeah, I know. $10 with a tip.
We used to know the entire staff. I mean, the entire staff.
I know.
Some great stories there, but that's for another time.
Yeah.
Favorite place to vacation? Y'all got a spot?
Yeah, we love the Emerald Coast.
Oh,
down in, whether it's from Panama to Destin, somewhere in between one of those is probably our go-to. Man, you just can't beat. It's a simple drive. White sand, ocean is beautiful. Majority time of the year, you just can't beat it. So relaxing. Yeah.
I love it.
So relaxing down there. We're going to head down. We were going to go this summer, but then with the little guy, we thought maybe it might be too hot, really not trying to deal with packing 4 backpacks worth of stuff and 2 wagons and everything else it takes to get a baby to the beach. But so we thought, let's do fall break, which is one of our favorite times. You go down there in October. It's a little bit slower, a little bit more laid back, and the rush is over, but you still get kind of that mid 80 and mid 60.
That's what I love. Labor Day for our vacate. We try and hit Labor Day while we can, while before kids get in school, but love it just for that reason. Yeah. What's a place that you wish more people knew about? Like if you got any hidden spots where you're just like, man, no one knows about this.
No, I don't want to give any secrets away. I don't want anybody blowing up my spots.
This is what we want. Come on.
Nope, you can't blow up my spots. Man.
3, 2.
I don't know, man. I really don't.
No hot spot. No hidden treasures.
I don't have any hidden treasures. I mean, vacationing down there is a hidden treasure.
Yeah.
I would recommend anybody take a vacation down to anywhere from Panama to Destin. Rosemary Beach.
Yeah. What's the one spot? Like if you had one spot, like, all right, so you can go anywhere around that area. Where are you going?
We actually alternate.
Okay.
Usually 1 year we'll do Panama, 1 year we'll do Destin.
Okay.
We kind of flip flop. Reason being is we only go to kind of one section of Panama. Sometimes Panama gets a bad rap. I mean, everybody loves Club La Vila, right? But we're past the Club La Vila days.
MTV Club La Vila was.
And
if you're in your mid 30s, you know exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Club La Vila.
So there's a much, much better place now. Calypso. Shout out to Calypso Towers. They are right on the beach. Beautiful, beautiful rooms, beautiful pools, right on the beach. And there's Pier Park is right across the street. So
that's what we need to know. Calypso Towers. Okay.
Calypso Towers.
Cool.
You have kids. You go down. If it's raining, they have a killer IMAX theater.
Really?
They have food right on the beach. They have shopping, and there's a Target close. There's a Walmart close. It's so.
Let's go.
I'd be persecuted by Will if I didn't give a shout out to Red Brick Pizzas down there. Yeah, which is a solid snack.
I don't know any of these places. This sounds amazing.
Yeah,
everything you're doing right now.
So don't write Panama off as a destination.
Calypso Towers,
Calypso
Red
Towers,
Brick Pizza. Oh
Red Brick. You hit the hook right there on the pier and get some fish tacos.
Oh,
have a cold beer.
Stop.
Watch the sunset right there.
Oh my gosh.
So don't write off Panama.
Okay,
head down there.
There we go.
Destin's Destin. It's gorgeous. Yeah, you can't beat either one of those.
Well, that's perfect. Yeah. I'm learning all this stuff. So
hey, and New Orleans too. Don't give up on New Orleans.
Nolans, yeah.
Nolans is where it's at.
I'm gonna have to get your tips. I feel my window's closing for that. I need to get there.
No, because the kids, you can have so much fun with kids.
Can
there
you?
Too. Yeah, we're fortunate too because Lauren has so much family there that we get to visit some of the non-touristy. They take us to all the cool local stuff, and that's the only way to New Orleans. So, when you're ready to go, I'll get you set up.
Part 2, Josh Lynch, New Orleans undercover. We're gonna figure some stuff out.
Let's go down there and just interview people.
I think that'd be fun. So, man, what is something as we kind of get towards the end here? 2 more questions. Yep. Something that people just don't know about you that would probably surprise them.
Well, I want to ask you, do you remember me being this tall in high school?
Well, I didn't want to bring it up.
Let's bring it up because we need to air it out. I have to, I'd live with it daily.
So, okay.
When I leave here and go to the grocery, I'm sure someone's going to ask me.
I'll give everybody my quick Josh Lynch story. So this is Tates Creek High School circa year 2000. And Josh is an average height person, about 6 feet tall, maybe 5'11",
6'2"-ish,
maybe
6'1".
Oh, come on, he was wearing his jump soles. I don't think so. So I'm saying he's 6'2", whatever, 6'1", and then literally, you go to college, kind of lose touch with some people. And then it was maybe a few years later, I see this guy, I go, dude, that looks just like Josh Lynch, but he's about 6'8". And they're like, no, that is Josh. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
So what happened? What happened?
I don't know. I just, it was like the David Robinson effect,
But tell everybody, so you were 18 years old. Like, when did this happen?
Probably freshman and sophomore year of college.
Unbelievable.
Like 6.5, 7 inches.
So you're 19 years old.
Yeah.
And then you just you're like, what is happening?
It's like, here we go. Oh, here we go.
Is this ever going to stop?
Is it going to stop?
Like, do I need to get in touch with Tubby Smith to see if if he needs any players?
I know. Talk about bad timing, right? I mean, I really didn't play. Well, the problem was I started working in high school, and so as soon as I started working, then I got a car, and I was like, well, I got to work to have the car, and so it was like there was no question of whether I was going to do sports or not, because I started working, and that was it. So a lot of people obviously assume since you're tall, you play basketball, but Mike always laughs and teases that I was not any good at sports, is why I didn't play, but. I like to disagree with that.
Disagree
I can challenge him to any sport he would like to do. And but he was on national television for Pros versus Joe, so that's kind of his glory story of athleticism. But if anybody has watched it, you can YouTube it.
Maybe not something to brag about.
I don't know if I would brag about. Yeah. So, but yeah, I was 6'2"-ish, and now we'll say I'm a little bit above average height.
What are you now officially?
I don't know. Maybe 6'8" and a half, 6'9" on a good back day.
Unbelievable.
6'8" on a bad back day. Height's not all it's cracked up to do between the knees and the back. But it is what it is. So that's one thing people always, especially when, like you said, I haven't seen them in 5, 6, 8, 10 years.
Yeah.
Like, man, you done got tall, boy. How tall are you? And it's funny being tall. Like, people, I think, associate tallness with deafness. And so if I'm out with my wife, they ask her the questions rather than me. Like, well, ma'am, how tall is he? Like, I can hear you. So you can ask me. You don't have to ask her. But, it's part of the territory. I've accepted it.
It is.
We try to market it as and Mike's not short.
Yeah.
So we have a pretty good...
good height.
Yeah.
Good height.
And then we added Jen, who's like 4'9".
Yeah.
So
it's a good it's a 3-on-3 team.
The team pictures are always awkward.
Point guard, power forward, and center. It's good. It's really good. So let's one more before we get this is an important question because I think our audience here, I think I know who's going to be listening to this, and we want to go back here. Right. So your first car.
Yeah.
Did we have an upgraded audio system in that vehicle?
There was an upgraded audio. Way too much money was spent in that vehicle.
What'd you have back there?
Well, it worked its way up to two 15-inch Orions with some huge amp that I got from Ovation.
Did you have a big Rockford Fosgate amp
it was
kicker?
It was a kicker amp.
Oh.
I do remember that. It was a kicker amp, and they even wrote me into one of those. Remember those 1 farad cylinder situations that you hooked up to the amp?
Indeed,
so it didn't surge the car battery and make your headlights dim.
Yep.
My grandmother still today laughs about that car literally rattling the house windows. We used to set off car alarms with it. It was wild.
That was
way too much money spent.
My dad always would say, because this is when we were living in Waterford in high school, that he would say he knew when I was in the neighborhood because as soon as I pulled in, I think off Clearwater, he knew that And
That's how it was.
Looking back now, I was like, what was I thinking?
What were we thinking? I know, I think about that.
I mean,
how
like,
much
why?
money did I waste?
Oh,
so
I had
stupid.
2 jail audios.
High school kids nowadays, which I don't think they do that. I don't feel
so.
like I never hear anybody with systems anymore.
No.
I'm glad they're spending their money.
Well,
on
you don't
Fortnite and everything else.
Yeah, you don't need it. I mean, you got MP. You got. I mean, we didn't have phones, Josh.
No.
We didn't have phones.
Shout out to my grandmother. That was my high school graduation present.
Yeah,
Was a phone.
yeah.
So
Candy bar phone. I bet. I bet it was a candy bar phone. A little Nokia. All right, man. Last question as we wrap this up, man, is, and I know that there's a lot behind you. You are a very impressive guy. I'm so glad you're here at this company. I learn a lot from you just by you being you and the way you hold yourself and handle yourself daily, and finding a little bit more about your story. Like it's very impressive. And I know you have a lot behind that.
yeah,
And so we all know that, we have that big why, but like just why. And this question is kind of your why about being a realtor.
yeah.
And you can kind of take that however you want to. But like, what is that, man? Like, what is that big why behind why you do what you do?
Yeah. I think a simple answer is I feel like I'm wired just to help people. I feel like that's what landed me in teaching. And I think that's what finally gave me the courage to step out and do real estate. I think just as if you broke me down to how I'm put together, I think it's just in my heart of hearts to help people. And I just look at real estate as that, I'm helping people again buy nothing but an investment, but help them manage the emotional side of it, and do that kind of in the most professional, ethical manner that I can. That's probably what keeps me in it the most. And then you couple that with the flexibility that it offers. And then, being here at this office surrounded by other professionals that keep you motivated and hungry. But if you boiled it down to that one thing, it's got to be helping people, is my biggest why for sure.
Love it, man.
Yep.
And you're doing a heck of a job. I know
appreciate it, man.
Your people love you. We see what you're doing in the community. It's awesome stuff, man. So I know you should be very proud of yourself. You're doing awesome, Josh.
I appreciate it, man.
What if anybody wants to get you social media wise, what's the best way to find out more about Josh Lynch?
Yeah, for all us people that are 30 and older, just go to Facebook. For anybody that's under 30, you can hit us up on Instagram. We are the South District Group on Instagram, which is our team name within the brokerage. A lot of people are like, well, are you with the brokerage or are you with the South District? So we explain that a little bit, but that's our team within the brokerage is the South District. So catch us on Instagram. You can be one of the 600 followers.
Boom.
If you want to find me on Twitter, Josh Lynch KY, you could be the 71st follower if you click follow.
Wait a minute.
Yep. So I'm really striving to get those followers up on the Twitter game. But yeah, probably Instagram, Facebook. You can find us. Obviously, check out the brokerage, southdistrictgroup.com. We'll get you to our website. But we just love what we do. Mike loves what he does. He's been doing it about 16 years. We got Jen involved. She's been an admin for a few years and just got her license, and she's hit the ground running. We're looking to add one more strapping, dapping young fella to the team here very soon.
Another power forward.
Yeah, another beast. We're loving it. We're loving what we're doing. Try to help as many people as we can, and at the end of the day, have a good time doing it.
That's it, man. That's it. I'll link up all of Josh's info in the comments and the show notes for this. And any final words before we head out?
Just shout out to our sponsorship again, Lift Fitness. Looking forward to that membership. You're going to slide this way. Is this where you get to say read something either about ZipRecruiter or Lisa mattresses?
No,
or
we're not there yet.
We're not there yet.
No,
gosh,
no.
we got to get one.
Maybe
of those.
we
what
get
about Cheddar's? Let's get Cheddar's.
We get a free book on Audible.
We're going after Cheddar's. We want to read about Cheddar's Scratch Kitchen.
The Scratch Kitchen, baby. Oh my gosh, we could continue this conversation for hours, which we may do to talk more about some of the less pressing things that are just entertaining. People love nostalgia, man. They love it.
And you got
they
to
love
back.
it.
That's why I had to hit you with the chicken patty cheese fries.
Chicken patty cheese fries.
You're going to be thinking about that all day.
I think I will. I may have to. I may just go to Chick-fil-A just for the heck of it. I may just have to go to Chick-fil-A.
School's still in session. You can go up there and pretend like you're visiting somebody.
No, I can't. I can't do it. I can't go back. Thanks everybody for listening.
Yep.
We subscribe on Apple Podcast, on Spotify, Overcast. We have all our videos on YouTube, and we post everything to Facebook as well. So again, Josh, thank you for sharing. Loved having you on. Love your story.
Yeah, man.
Your business is awesome. Really appreciate you sharing. And with that, I'm Todd Back.
Josh Lynch. Todd, hit the music. This is where you cue the juvenile back pass up.
Oh, I'll do that.
Just for Tates Creek Day.
Just for Tates Creek. Just
Creek
have to
dog.
be the instrumental.
Creek
Okay.
dog.
All right, guys.
All right, homie.
Let's see you next time.
Later.
Bye.